For those who may not be aware, Iraq was once invaded by a superpower, the United States of America, back in 2003. At one time, Iraq was considered a formidable nation on the global stage. The American invasion, led by the 41st President George W. Bush, was prompted by the belief that Iraq, under President Saddam Hussein, possessed weapons of mass destruction which, incidentally, were never found. The United States and its allies also claimed that the invasion aimed to liberate the Iraqi people from Saddam Hussein's authoritarian rule. However, 2 decades later, many people reflect on their lives under Saddam's regime as being better, raising questions about the true beneficiaries of the U.S. and its allies' efforts during the invasion from 2003 to 2011. But just how strong was the Iraqi military force? Let's delve into this matter. Iraq is known to have had a considerable military force, with 330,000 personnel including 200,000 active members and 130,000 paramilitary personnel. Breaking down the military branches, the Army consisted of 180,000 members, the Navy had 10,000, and the Air Force comprised 3,000 personnel. For a Middle Eastern country, Iraq's military personnel numbers were quite significant, rivaling Saudi Arabia, which boasts a military strength of 350,000 members. This sizable force was supported by Iraq's substantial population of 40 million people, placing it fourth in terms of the largest population in the Middle East. It's no surprise that Iraq remained competitive in military personnel numbers, despite the heavy toll of war casualties. When it comes to Iraq's financial situation, it starkly highlights the economic impact of the war on the country. Despite being rich in oil, Iraq allocated only about $5.7 billion for its military budget. This figure is relatively small compared to other conflict-ridden countries in the Middle East. For perspective, Saudi Arabia has a defense budget of $45 billion, making Iraq's military funding 8 times smaller, even though, as we all know, Middle Eastern countries primarily trade in oil, a sector in which Iraq is notably competent. Iraq itself ranks 6th globally in oil production, with an output of 4.21 million barrels per day, and it holds the 5th largest proven oil reserves, with about 145.02 billion barrels. This discussion of personnel and finances reveals the detrimental effects of war on a nation's potential. It's thought-provoking to consider that, without the conflict, Iraq might have been able to confront challenges such as ISIS more effectively. In 2017, for instance, Iraqi forces were successful in driving ISIS out of Mosul. Imagine Iraq's strength had it not been for the American invasion. What are your thoughts? Feel free to drop a comment below. After examining the profound impacts of the American invasion on Iraq's personnel and financial strength, let's shift our focus to the military hardware that Iraq possesses. In this domain, one fact is particularly striking. Much of Iraq's land-based military hardware predominantly consists of American-made equipment. This situation should not come as a surprise, leading to comments that post-war America engaged in arms trade with Iraq. It appears to be an irony of sorts. Rather than harboring resentment, a business relationship has blossomed. To grasp the scale of this business, one only needs to observe the widespread presence of American military hardware. The Iraqi army boasts an impressive lineup of ground forces equipment, including 321 units of the M1AI Abrams tanks. In addition, they have over 10,000 units of the M1151 Humvee vehicles and 90 units of the M109 artillery launchers. The United States has indeed established a significant trade in land military hardware with Iraq, a partnership that has continued even after the end of their military intervention. In 2020, Iraq further strengthened its defense system by acquiring the American-made Patriot missile system. This defense system, claimed by the United States to have a range of up to 100 miles and a speed of about 3,106 miles per hour, is said to be highly effective against ballistic missiles with its impressive specifications. The military hardware Iraq has purchased from the United States complements its existing ground forces arsenal, which includes 923 tanks, 39,740 armored vehicles, 1,707 artillery launchers, and 424 rocket launchers. It's no secret that American-made military hardware doesn't only make up the bulk of Iraq's army equipment but also its air force. Iraq possesses 26 units of the F-16 Fighting Falcon jets, each priced at $34 million. Although the F-16 is considered somewhat outdated, having been in production since 1974, it remains highly competitive, particularly for ground attack missions. Regarding the F-16 specifications, it boasts commendable capabilities, being able to reach speeds of Mach 2.05 or approximately 1,355 miles per hour. Its range is notable too, at 2,620 miles, with a combat radius of about 339 miles. In terms of armaments, the F-16 can carry a diverse payload of up to 11 different munitions, from air-to-air and air-to-ground missiles to bombs. When fully equipped with the latest weaponry, an F-16 can even carry the AGM-158 JASSM, an American missile with a range of about 575 miles, designed for precision ground strikes against high-value targets. If that isn't formidable enough, the F-16 is also capable of deploying the B-83 nuclear bomb, which can annihilate an area comparable to the size of London. In addition to the F-16, Iraq's air arsenal includes 59 combat jets, 149 special mission aircraft, and 204 helicopters. Quite remarkable, isn't it? Lastly, let's turn our attention to the naval military might of Iraq. It appears that the Iraqi Navy is relatively modest, with just 26 patrol ships and 2 corvettes. The corvettes in service, namely the Assad class released in 1981 and the Saisha class from 1984, indicate that Iraq's naval hardware is somewhat outdated. With this data, it's clear that Iraq's capabilities at sea are considerably limited. However, there's a strong underlying reason for this. Iraq doesn't have a vast maritime border, so even with minimal naval assets, they are relatively secure, relying on the country's predominantly desert geography. Perhaps this is why a formidable naval force isn't seen as a critical necessity for Iraq.